Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Profitable Coaching Conversation Show with Wendy Y. Bailey. I'm Wendy Y. Bailey, and I appreciate you taking time out to watch this live or to watch the replay. Be sure that you are, if you're out there and you want to let me know that you're there in the comments, that you grant StreamYard permission to post who you are, your identity as well on Facebook. I'm live streaming on Facebook, on my page, my profile in two Facebook groups. I'm also live streaming on LinkedIn and on two YouTube channels. So I'm excited to bring this content to you today. Hello and welcome. I see people are popping on. Today is really a topic that I'm excited about because it really is about building integrity and trust. Hello, Miss Barbara. It's about building integrity and trust in your coaching business. You can't get to six figures or multiple six figures or seven figures if you're not trustworthy, if you don't have great integrity. So I'm going to be talking about that today. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Let me introduce myself to some of you. I'm Wendy Y. Bailey. I'm a 20 plus year veteran business and sales coach. I'm known as your income acceleration mentor. And I'm also the creator of the Certified Income Acceleration Coach program. I'm so excited about it. I'm going to be talking about it a lot over the coming weeks, but it is a program that really does encompass my body of work. I'll share more of that about that in the series to come. But I'm excited about that program because it's really going to help me even more so than I already have to equip coaches with the right tools to elevate. That's my word for 2023. To elevate, to accelerate, that's income, that's productivity, that's profitability. And it's also about sustainability. Those are my three key areas that I want to focus on this year: productivity, profitability, and sustainability. So, if you're a coach who wants to move your business forward in those areas, then you really want to pay attention and you really want to connect with me because I'm really intentional about how I do that. The thing that I love about what I've been able to accomplish in more than 20 years is, I didn't just do it and found myself here. Initially, I think in the first several years in my business, I was doing some things based on what saw as standards in the coaching industry. And over time, I became very, very keenly aware that I had the ability in my business to create what I truly wanted it to be. It didn't have to look like a standard business like what I had seen in the industry, that it was my business and it was my choices that would contribute to the growth, that will contribute to me being able to be here, create the sustainability that has brought me to almost 21 years later in my coaching business. So, what I've been thinking about sharing today as we talk about integrity and we talk about trust is really looking at it from that very intentional place, in that very intentional space. There's a there's a diagram that I created. I want to say it was a divine download many years ago, and it still applies today, and it especially applies when we talk about trust and integrity. So now that I've said a little bit, let me just kind of remind you that what I'm going to be sharing today is a bit of a preview to my three-part masterclass series. If you haven't registered for that, be sure that you go to elevatewithwendy.com, and sign up there. It's complimentary. I've reworked some of the promotional materials. I've changed the date on it. So be sure that you are plugged into that complimentary resource. We're going to do a lot of really cool things in that masterclass series. It's three parts over 3 consecutive days. It's coming up in about 11 days. So be sure that you reserve your seat right away. So let's talk a little bit about trust and integrity. One of the definitions I heard of for integrity is what you do when no one's watching, right? Integrity is what you do when you are um, not when you don't think anyone is watching. I didn't say it right. Let me start over. Integrity is what you do when you don't think anyone is watching. There are always people watching, and how are you showing up in that space? How are you showing up in that minute? So when you think of integrity, it's really about being impeccable with how you show up. It's really about being impeccable with how you speak and what you say and what you do. So it's there's an intention behind it. There's also a confirmation based on your words and your actions. So it's like a threefold way of operating. And you may be saying, well, Wendy, why? I'm always being in integrity. I'm focused on being trustworthy in everything that I do. Well, sometimes the best laid plans, as they say, of mice and men are not what happens. You've got to think about people on the other side of your choices. You've got to think about, what's happening on the receiving end of those actions and those thoughts and that behavior that you roll out to people. So integrity is what you do when you think no one is watching, but it's also recognizing that there's someone on the receiving end of everything you say and do, every action, every intention that you put out there. When it comes to working in a six-figure or multiple six-figure business, integrity means that you're anticipating what could potentially be misconstrued, and you're getting ahead of that before it happens. You're thinking, well, let me make sure that this is going to be the right thing for them. I remember I'm a big movie buff, so if you've been around me, I'm always, thinking of lines from movies and scenes from movies. And there's a scene in the first Jurassic Park movie. Jurassic Park is a movie about dinosaurs and how they created what they thought was going to be a theme park that would showcase these dinosaurs. And Jeff Goldblum, the actor, plays this chaos theorist. He's a PhD theorist, and he says when he sees what's happening, and the guy who created Jurassic Park tells them about it and how it came about and everything, he says to him, it's not that you created this theme park with these extinct creatures who are roaming around. Is that when you created it, you didn't think whether or not it was right for you to do that, right? So when you think about integrity, it's making sure you're thinking about if it's the right thing to do, if it's the right thing to say, if it's the right action to take, if it's appropriate, if it's the truth, if it's something that's going to hurt people or help people. You've got to pay attention to that, especially as a coach. Integrity is you understanding that every action that you take, every thought that you have, every deed that you put out there, any kind of promotional materials you put into the marketplace, all of your brand, you're thinking of whether it's the right thing, if it's the good thing that's going to help your community, the communities you serve. You've got to think about and think through all of those to really stand in a place of integrity. Um, Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the book, The Four Agreements. And if you haven't read it, you need to read it. And one of the four agreements is be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. I love all four of the agreements, but that one especially, because it says that you're thinking and you're considering what you're doing and if it is the right thing to do. It says, when I say something, that's golden and people can count on it. There's scores and scores of movies and books where people say the only thing you've got is your word. And when people know and can trust your word, then they understand what trustworthiness means as it relates to you. They understand and believe, and they're bonded with you because they know they can trust what you say and how you say it, because you're impeccable with your word. Well, there's some other aspects of it I want to make sure I cover. The thing that he talks about, Don Miguel Ruiz talks about in the Four Agreements, about being impeccable with your word. It's important when you think about being impeccable. It's and I'm quoting here, the expression of your word is much more than just the expression of your words. It's not enough to say it. You've also got to live it. You've got to deliver it. It has to do with sentences and phrases you speak and you write. When you're writing copy, when you're communicating in emails to your clients, your potential clients, your tribe, you've got to make sure that your sentences and phrases that you speak and write represent the impeccability of your word. They represent the bond you're creating around trust. They represent your integrity in showing up in that place. Because what happens is it comes out as opinions and comments and thoughts in your head, or it could even make it into policy in some situations. It's always interesting when you see people who are celebrities. They're celebrities because they play basketball. They're celebrity or some other sport. They're celebrities because they're on the small screen or on the big screen. And it's always interesting to me when people come out and say, this is a job I do. It's never been my desire to be a role model. And what I want to say is, you know I always find that like crazy, because you don't get to decide, because you're in the public eye, that you're not a role model. You're a role model by default. And to me, the same is true for you standing out in your industry as a coach. When you're standing out, when you're stepping up, when you're putting stuff in the marketplace, you've got to make sure it is something that is impeccable, that it truly represents your word. You understand the magnitude of what you're bringing in the marketplace, in the space, in the world, and you honor it based on that, right? It's back to that comment that I made from the movie Jurassic Park. When you create a program, when you position something that you're selling to people and inviting people to enroll in, you've got to make sure it's the right thing to do. When in NLP, one of the things we talk about is ecology. And that means that you're looking at whether what you're doing is good for the planet, it's good for the world, it's good for the people that you want to consume it. And that's part of impeccability that I think some people miss. So when you think about being impeccable with your word, it goes so far beyond just what you speak and write. Again, it's opinions and comments and thoughts in your head, or could even make it into policy. What you do today is something someone else may decide, "Ooh, that's a great idea. Let's turn that into governance in the coaching industry." You got to think about what you're doing. It's very intentional, but it's also, there's a depth to what you should be thinking and how you should be viewing what you're offering in the marketplace and how you're showing up in your brand. The other part about impeccability, it's looking at multiple types of expressions that you have, whether you are sharing emotions, attitude, actions, what you refrain from. So having some standard of excellence, some professional ethics around lines you will not cross, what you express your faith in. There's so much that goes into your word and your integrity and the impeccability of your word and how you show it in what you do in the coaching industry, in any industry. But I want to focus on the coaching industry specifics. I talked about creating an experience for yourself and others. When you're aware of how others are consuming your experience, the experience that you've curated for them, it means that you're paying attention to how they respond. And I don't know if you've ever done this. There have been programs that I put into the marketplace, and I thought, oh, this is really a great program. They're going to love this program. This is going to help so many people. And then as people started to kind of tap into it, I realized that it was good for me, but I hadn't anticipated the response of my program in the marketplace. So, what I'm saying to you is, when you're impeccable with your word and when you're focused on integrity and breeding and bonding and trust with people, you've got to make sure you have an insight, or at least an inkling, into how they're going to receive it, and if it's going to be something favorable, if it's going to be something that is positive, if it's going to be something that honors them and champions them. so that you're building aspects of that into what you do. It's terrible, and I'm just going to be hard and fast when I say this. It's never okay to create content that doesn't help people, that hurts people in some way, that unfortunately, and I'm not talking about inclusion or exclusion. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just by the content and how it lands with people. If you're not taking care of the people that you are creating and building content for as you create it, it's not good content. I tell clients all the time that when you're creating content, you can't create it in a vacuum. You've got to create it understanding who your most ideal clients are very, very well. And when you can understand that, it makes a world of difference in how you create the content and how effective the content is and how successful you're going to be in enrolling people into your programs because of the caliber of content that you've created, because you focused and understood that it is when people look at your content, your programs, they want to know what's in it for them. They want to know if it's something that's going to solve a problem that they're facing. They want to know that you've considered all of the possibilities, and they want to know that they can trust you with what their problem is, and they can feel safe in the solutions that you have curated for them, right, in your program. That's integrity. That's impeccability with your word. That's how you build trust with people. Barbara says, yes, your word is very important. I work on this every day. Yeah, it's got to be a very intentional. You do it from a space of awareness, not blindly walking through your day in your business without thinking of other people. She also says, yes, so true. Something you might have thought it was helpful and it was really did not fit the problem solving for the client. Yes, yeah. You got to focus on the client. The client is the key thing. And think of the client as people who are part of your tribe, because people in your tribe, while they may not have hired you or engaged you as their coach, they're still looking at you. They're still paying attention to what you're offering. And based on how you present, they want to know with great clarity that you can deliver the goods, that you get them, that you understand their plight. And because you understand their plight, you've crafted something that's going to make a difference. So the communication isn't just with the people who pay you, it's with the people who see you on video, the people who are reading your social media posts, your blogs, the people who are listening to you on podcasts. Those are people who are looking at you to see if you got the goods to really support them, that impeccability is there for them, that you have integrity, that they can trust you. And you hear all the time, marketers say it's all about people getting to know, like, and trust you. Well, beyond that, it's also about making sure that that trust is real. It's not something manufactured. It's not something that you're just doing for the sake of image, right? You're creating something that's real, that is a trusted bond with the people that are listening to you and watching you and reading your books and your blog posts and watching your videos again and listening to you on podcast, and all the things that you're doing. People are paying attention to that, and that's a representation of your impeccability as well. The other thing that I want to say is, you create dynamics of respect. This is me reading in a relationship by being silent and listening attentively. So it's not about a one-way conversation. So impeccability and you standing in integrity and being trustworthy is a two-way adventure, right? It's a two-way communication. You're providing information that reveals your integrity, your word, your care, your compassion, your expertise, your knowledge, all of that. And on the receiving end are your clients or potential clients who are paying attention to that. It also means that you're listening to what your clients are saying, what your tribe is doing. When you're posting something, stop just posting blindly on social media. Make sure you understand the intent of that post. I posted something earlier today, and I've been thinking about it for about a week now. And the gist of the story, I won't go into all of it, but the gist of the story is I was traveling, I was driving somewhere, and I got stopped and I got a ticket. And when I got the ticket, I looked at the ticket, and when it finally got into the system, the ticket ended up being a $300 fine for the ticket. And I was like, wow, that was a tough lesson. And I was distracted, which is, what made me get the ticket. And when I paid the ticket, I was grateful to just, pay the ticket and get it all behind me. Then I got a notice that said, we are categorizing you as a super speeder and assessing another fine to you, $200 fine. So one ticket, speeding, cost me $500. Yeah. And the thought I had was, because I knew I got the ticket because I was distracted and I wasn't present to the fact that I was driving so fast because I was doing something else while I was driving. How many times do we do that in other areas of our lives? Where we're distracted and we're not present, and it's costing so much. It may not be a monetary cost, but how many times are you missing out on opportunities, or you're missing out on times where you stand in integrity because you were distracted by something? So, impeccability and being standing in integrity and building and breeding trust in relationships is about you understanding the value of being present to everything happening. It doesn't mean you're paying attention to all things. It means that it's two people in this relationship, and you want to hear from other people on the other side of the relationship as well. Barbara says, you're not alone. It happened to me too. The speeding. Yeah. Yeah. But to me, speeding is a lesson. When you're speeding and you get caught, it's a lesson. I always view that as like a warning shot, if you will, because if I'm speeding, that means I'm moving too fast in the car, but it also means that I'm probably moving too fast in life and business as well. So it's my warning shot to slow down, right, and be more present. Yeah, you do learn when you have a $500 ticket that you got to pay, or you do learn when there are other things that happen as a result. Maybe there's an accident or something. But the fact that it was just a speeding ticket, yeah, I'm going to say it that way, and not an accident, says, wow, I have an opportunity to address that and not let it happen again. That's what I mean when I talk about impeccability of your word. The thing that I want you to understand is, if you're questioning anything as it relates to your integrity or your trust, and if you're being really intentional when it comes to that, you can create a different experience for yourself. You can create something different based on the emotional reaction. I have what I like to call a poker face, because sometimes I'm processing what somebody is saying to me in my head, and I don't always want them to see the expression of that on my face. I need the space within my head to process it before I share my thoughts about it. And sometimes those thoughts are constructive for them. Sometimes it's, awareness about how I see something differently than maybe they intended. When you turn down the emotions of whatever the situation is, what you're going to find is you're able to respond in a way that is helpful, in a way that does support you in the relationship and the other people or persons in the relationship, no matter what type of relationship it is. I told you guys that I was going to give you a little bit of a diagram, and it's a diagram that I've used for years, and it's a divine download. And what I want you to think about is, drawing a circle on your paper. And you can do it mentally. You don't have to write it down. But if you draw a circle and see that circle as like the bounds of what you really do control, what you're responsible for, and what you can manage, everything in the circle is your responsibility. Your ability to manage, your control is all inside the circle. So I always start by saying what goes inside the circle, and people start, throwing out answers. Let me give you your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your reactions, your behaviors, your emotions. I think I said that before. Your choices, your choices, your choices, your choices. Bottom line, everything inside the circle you can control, and it's based on choice as to how you show up in that. Well, conversely, there are things outside the circle that you have no responsibility for, you have no control over. Um, and what's that? Other people's thoughts, other people's actions, other people's reactions, other people's emotions, other people's choices, other people's choices, other people's choices. Just like you have management of your choices, so do the people who are doing stuff outside the circle. But what I found is many times we are trying to move the needle on things that are outside the circle, right? Instead of really focusing on the areas where we have the greatest power, our own stuff. That's why emotional intelligence is so powerful for people, because it gives you an opportunity to see how people respond to things, but recognize your ability to respond in a way that honors the people that you're in relationship and conversation and communication with. That's the beauty of those kinds of tools like emotional intelligence. Even when you look at Myers Briggs, knowing that it tells you how people are operating outside the circle, INTJ, EN, TF, whatever the things are. I know them, but I'm not looking at them. But it helps you to know how to respond to people because the communication is two-way. It helps you to know how to honor how people are showing up. Even when it comes to neurolinguistic programming, knowing what we call representational systems that people are operating from tells us how we can honor that representational system and communicate with them in a way that really speaks to them, that champions who they are. That's something we have control over. That's a choice that we can make. And that demonstrates the impeccability, the integrity in what we do and how we do it in our coaching businesses. When I tell you that integrity and trust sound like they're easy, I want to make sure you understand that they're a choice, and it's very intentional, and it means that you are looking out for other people in the relationships and in the conversations you're having, right? So when you think about this, I want you to know that the higher you get in terms of your income, the greater your focus has to be on integrity and trust. It doesn't get easier because you have more clients and more, business coming in. It gets even more challenges because you've got to consider so much more when you're making more, right? You've got to think about it in a way that says, okay, I've got to make a choice that truly represents my belief in what I'm doing, the support I want to give my clients, the brand that I'm creating, the people in my tribe that I want to champion, that I want to understand. Your thought process has to be much more intentional, much more deliberate to breed integrity and trust in everything you do in your coaching business, right? So if you're just joining us, thanks so much for popping in. I'm winding up, but I want to make sure I tell you, if you're catching me on the replay, type hashtag replay. If you have questions, I'm going to go back to all of the platforms and see if there are questions or other comments that people are making so that I can respond to you. I'm here Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right? And so next Monday through Thursday, I'm going to continue this series that I've been doing. And for the series, Monday is all about group coaching as the key to scaling your six-figure coaching business. This is a series that I've been doing, and I'm really, really excited about. Absolutely, Barbara, you're welcome for the awesome information. This is a series I'm doing that is really about positioning you and helping you to start to think about moving into multiple six figures, or if you're not quite at six figures, getting there, because it's a process. right? It's a process. When I talk about elevation, I'm talking about elevating your brand. I'm talking about accelerating your income. I'm talking about streamlining your success so that you can get to success faster and easier with lots less effort in a way that rewards you and the clients that you serve. So sign up for my complimentary masterclass series. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. In fact, it's 11 days. So I want to be sure that you go and sign up for it. I'm excited about putting this content together because when I talk about elevate and elevation being my theme for 2023, I'm taking everybody with me. So if you want some elevation, some acceleration, some streamlining your success, if you want to get to the place that you are looking to be in 2023, sign up at elevatewithwendy.com. As a reminder, I'm live streaming on YouTube, Profitable Coaching Conversations, YouTube, Wendy Y. Bailey, LinkedIn, my Facebook profile, my Facebook page, and 2 Facebook groups. So I'm a little bit of everywhere, and I'm going to come and check out whatever comments or thoughts you have. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to see them. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And Monday, I'll be back to talk about group coaching, and I hope you'll tune in with me then. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and I'll see you soon. Bye.